Warren Buffett, from paperboy to the Oracle of Omaha. What if one of the richest people in the world still lived in the same modest house he bought in the 1950s? This is the story of Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, an investor, a business builder, and a philanthropist who turned simple, disciplined ideas into one of the greatest fortunes in history. Early hustle and first investments. Warren Edward Buffett was born in 1930 in Omaha, Nebraska, the only son of stockbroker and future Congressman Howard Buffett and his wife Layla. From a young age, he was fascinated by business and money. As a kid, he sold chewing gum, Coca Cola, and magazines door to door, worked in his grandfather's grocery store, and carefully tracked every cent. In high school, he delivered newspapers, sold golf balls and stamps, detailed cars, and even claimed a tax deduction for using his bicycle and watch on his paper route. At 11, he bought his first shares of stock, and at 14, he purchased a 40-acre farm that a tenant farmer worked for him. By the time he finished college, he had already saved nearly $10,000 in 1950s dollars, the mindset of an owner long before he was a billionaire. Education and the Graham influence. After high school, Buffett wanted to skip college and go straight into business, but his father insisted he study. He started at the Wharton School, then transferred to the University of Nebraska, graduating at 20 with a degree in business administration. Rejected by Harvard Business School, he instead applied to Columbia Business School for one reason. Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing, was teaching there. At Columbia, Buffett learned the core ideas that would define his career. Look at stocks as pieces of real businesses. Use market fluctuations to your advantage, not your emotions. Always demand a margin of safety between price and intrinsic value. These concepts became the foundation of his investing philosophy for the rest of his life. Early career GEICO and investment partnerships. After Columbia, Buffett worked briefly at his father's brokerage firm, then joined Graham Newman as a securities analyst. In 1951, he discovered that Graham was on the board of GEICO. On a Saturday, he took a train to Washington, D.C., knocked on the company's door until someone let him in, and spent hours grilling a GEICO executive about the business, then bought the stock. Back in Omaha, he combined stockbroking with teaching investment principles at night, despite being younger than most of his students. In 1956, using his own savings and money from family and friends, he launched Buffett Partnership Limited. Over the next few years, he ran multiple partnerships, hunting for undervalued stocks. In one famous case, he bought a big stake in Sanborn Map because the company's investment portfolio was worth more than its stock price, effectively getting the operating business for less than nothing. By 1962, his partnerships had grown to over $7 million in assets, and Buffett himself had become a millionaire, taking over Berkshire and building a conglomerate. In the early 1960s, Buffett began buying shares of a struggling New England textile company called Berkshire Hathaway. After disagreements with management, he kept buying until he gained control and became its dominant shareholder. He later called the textile purchase his worst trade, but he turned that mistake into a vehicle for something far greater. Throughout the late 1960s and 1970s, Buffett wound down the original textile business and redirected capital into insurance companies and other businesses that generated steady cash flows. Berkshire evolved from a failing mill into a diversified holding company, investing in or acquiring firms like the Washington Post, the Buffalo Evening News, Capital Cities, ABC, and later a huge stake in Coca Cola, one of his most famous long-term winners. His approach was simple but demanding. Buy understandable businesses with durable competitive advantages, strong management, and the ability to compound earnings over decades. Crises, big deals, and a global giant. By the 1980s and 1990s, Berkshire had grown into a powerful conglomerate, and Buffett was no longer just a stock picker. He was a capital allocator for one of America's largest companies. He navigated major challenges, including the Salomon Brothers bond scandal, where he stepped in as interim chairman to help save the firm's reputation and avoid a collapse. During the 2007 to 2008 financial crisis, Berkshire's earnings took a heavy hit, and some of his deals suffered large short-term losses. But Buffett also provided lifelines to firms like Goldman Sachs and Dow Chemical, supplying capital when markets were in full panic. At the same time, He continued to make huge strategic moves, such as acquiring Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway, further transforming Berkshire into a collection of robust, cash-generating businesses rather than just a stock portfolio. By 2014, Berkshire was posting record quarterly profits, and its share price had crossed $200,000 per share, making it one of the most valuable companies in the world. Personality, lifestyle, and recognition. Despite controlling one of the world's largest corporate empires, Buffett maintained a famously modest lifestyle. He still lives in the Omaha house he bought in 1958, historically paid himself a relatively low salary compared with other CEOs, and is known for simple habits: reading newspapers, drinking Coca Cola, and playing bridge. His annual shareholder letters became must-read documents for investors worldwide, mixing deep insight, humor, and plain language. In 2008, Forbes ranked him as the richest person in the world with an estimated net worth of about $62 billion. Even after donating tens of billions of dollars, he continued to rank among the world's wealthiest people in the following years. He has been recognized as the top money manager of the 20th century, listed among Time's 100 most influential people, and awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, View of Wealth, and What Happens Next. Buffett has always believed that in a market economy, the rich can receive outsized rewards for their talents and capital. He has said openly that his children will not inherit the bulk of his wealth. He wants them to have enough to do anything, but not so much that they feel like doing nothing. Through Berkshire and his personal fortune, he built one of the largest pools of private wealth in history, and then committed to giving almost all of it away. By the mid-2000s and beyond, his net worth remained enormous, but more and more of it was earmarked for philanthropy, reflecting his belief that wealth is a tool, not a scorecard. In the end, Warren Buffett's story is not just about becoming rich. It's about how discipline, patience, and clear principles can turn a paperboy from Omaha into one of the most influential investors the world has ever seen.